The AFC West, that's what we're talking about today. We'll grab a handful of rookies worth looking at in your Dynasty Fantasy Football drafts. And yes, we'll include defense. We'll examine where those rookies fit into the existing depth charts and give a projected timetable for them to pay off in your leagues based on factors like age, production, and contracts. Welcome to Shut Up Football. I'm Jeff Stoltzfus, that's Kevin, and if you're into football, stupid humor, and bad takes, we got a show for you. Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs made some big moves in the draft, like striking a deal with the Bills to move up in the first round. Winners, Patrick Mahomes, for finally getting a deep threat in the passing game. Losers, the fantasy community that hyped up Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, and Justin Ross. They're barnacles on this roster, and you were all wrong. Don't blame me, I said Moore was average and Toney ran funny. My arguments don't make sense, but they can still be right. It's not science.
In the first round, they took Xavier Worthy, wide receiver out of Texas.
He's 21 years old, 5'11", 166 pounds. He set a record 40 at the Combine, running 4.21. With such a slight weight and frame, I'd have concerns about his durability, but look at his college production. 197 receptions, 2,700 yards receiving, 26 touchdowns. He wasn't missing time. He had solid production over 3 years. He's been comped to Deshaun Jackson, and you know I love that. I love the fastest 40 time as much as the next football nerd, but I've soured on, quote-unquote, the fastest guy at the Combine over the years. Historically, those guys don't work out. John Ross, Jacoby Ford, J.J. Nelson, Tyrone Calico, Jerome Mathis, Dree Archer, they just weren't it. Of course, there were some exceptions, Marquise Goodwin and Chris Johnson, but the hit rate is well below 50%. I watched tape on Xavier Worthy prior to his record-setting 40 time at the Combine, and I was already impressed. I put him about my 8th or 9th receiver in this draft, in my second tier of receiver talent, which might sound a little low, but you gotta remember that this draft class was loaded, so it's actually really high. A fast 40 time didn't move the needle for me. You could see how fast he is on film, and like I said, I was already in on him. Landing in the first round didn't change much either, but landing with the Chiefs? That was a lean forward in your chair type moment.
The Chiefs added Marquise Brown this year, and that was a good move.
Rashee Rice, street racing? Wasn't. But short of jail time, Rice's value on this roster shouldn't take too much damage for Worthy's addition. Xavier Worthy will have a different role in this offense, and they'll both have value for fantasy. Worthy doesn't need to climb a depth chart, he just needs to build trust with Mahomes, which shouldn't be hard, unless he accidentally wears a Kadarius Toney jersey. The other receivers are Sky Moore, Justin Watson, and Kadarius Toney. Patrick Mahomes just got the best deep threat option he's had since Tyreek Hill. Now, I am inherently cynical and never want to reach for what is given to me, so I looked for all the ways to be out on Xavier Worthy. And I just can't find any. I wouldn't trade up to get him, but you don't have much choice. If he falls to you in your draft, you have to draft him. However, if you're a team of need, I would consider trading him. Like, during the draft if you can, for the simple reason that this might be the peak of his value ever. Xavier Worthy's ADP is currently about 6th overall on standard 12-team rookie drafts. If you can flip him for another receiver this year and future firsts, might be a good deal. In the 4th round, they took Jared Wiley, tight end out of TCU. He's 23 years old, 6'6", 245 pounds, and his metrics are great all around. He's got an RAS of 9.3. In college, he had 90 receptions, 1,000 yards receiving over 5 years, and 15 touchdowns. It wasn't eye-popping production, but his game film was very impressive. In high school, he was a quarterback, which reminds me of another Chiefs tight end. The depth chart is Travis Kelce. He's 34 years old. He's on a 2-year deal with an out after this year. He could play another 2 years, maybe even longer, but I think he's already thinking about retirement. He's not that old, he's still productive, but his body has been through a lot. He's achieved the highest level. He's built a brand outside the NFL with podcasting, commercials, and now acting. Simply put, he doesn't need it anymore. Noah Gray is 25 years old. He's on the last year of his rookie deal. Irv Smith is 25 years old. He's on a 1-year deal. I don't think Wiley will see the field much as a rookie. There's really just no need. Now, if they don't re-sign Noah Gray next year, then Wiley would become the backup. But I still think his pathway to fantasy relevance is probably 2 years, maybe even 3 years away. I think everyone is looking for the next Travis Kelce, especially in fantasy football, where you can get that positional advantage. And Wiley has the traits that he could be that one day. Well, all except for one. Route running. Have you ever noticed how Travis Kelce just kind of always seems to be wide open, even though everybody knows he's going to get the ball? That's because he's a good route runner. He's good at finding space in the defense, and that's what Wiley needs to learn. So if he gets the chance to learn that directly from himself, yeah, sign me up. I'm in. Wiley's ADP is 51st overall. I'd take him over everybody currently near that price point. The runway is long, but the upside could be huge. In the 4th round, they took Jaden Hicks, safety out of Washington State. He's 21 years old, 6'2", 211 pounds. In college, he had 155 tackles, 3.5 sacks. That was over 2 years of college. He's got good closing speed, makes open field tackles. He's very aggressive. He was projected to go in between the 2nd and 3rd round, and the Chiefs got a steal. The depth chart is Justin Reed, Connor Chamari, and Brian Cook. Hicks is listed behind Brian Cook as a free safety, so I'll focus on him. Brian Cook is 24 years old. He's got 2 years left on his rookie deal. He missed 4 games last year for an ankle sprain and 1 the year prior for a concussion. He had 1 sack in his rookie year and 1 interception last year. I don't know the sentiment around Cook, but this looks very unimpressive for a 2nd-round draft pick. There's no evidence to expect that Jaden Hicks is going to get much playing time as a rookie or that he's going to take over for Brian Cook in the long term. But I like him. I think he's a very physical safety with solid ball skills. You can pluck him off the waiver wire after your draft in most leagues. I think he's a good one to stash. Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders picked up some quality ingredients, but I have no idea what the hell they're cooking. Winners. Every offensive starter, except for one guy. Losers. That one guy. Maybe they were still in shock over losing out on Michael Penix Jr. because they upgraded the one position they probably didn't need to. In the 1st round, they took Brock Bowers, tight end out of Georgia. He's 21 years old, 6'3", 243 pounds. In college, he had 2,500 yards receiving and 31 total touchdowns. He's a great receiver, a good blocker, he gets good yards after catch. Player Profiler compared him to Travis Kelce. Lance Zierlein compared him to George Kittle. He's got great film, tons of production, and good athleticism. Michael Mayer's 22 years old. He was taken at the top of the 2nd round last year. I don't think he's fantasy dead because of this, just not someone you can count on until he finds another team. He only had 300 yards and 2 touchdowns as a rookie, but he flashed potential, and he gets graded on a curve considering last year's QB and coaching situations. He also missed 2 games and he was fighting for time with Austin Hooper. I still fully believe he can be a tight end 1 for a team. In fact, it makes me wonder if this is the perfect sneaky time to try and trade for him in Dynasty. There's also Harrison Bryant, who's 26 years old, he's new to the team, he's on a 1-year deal. Brock Bowers is going to be the immediate starter here, but I kind of wonder how he'll be used. Because based on his athleticism and height, it's possible that they could use him like a big slot in certain situations. Now, that's not something that I've heard from anyone yet, but last year, that's all anyone could talk about with the Bills' Dalton Kincaid. Brock Bowers is being mocked about 4th overall, but it really depends on your league. He's the first tight end off the board, and probably the only one with much value in their rookie year. That said, I'm not investing in him. Nothing against the player, I'm just not investing in a tight end that high. I'd rather find value later in the draft or trade for a known commodity. In the 5th round, they took Tommy Eichenberg, linebacker out of Ohio State. He's 23 years old, 6'2", 233 pounds. In college, he had 268 tackles over 4 years. He's not particularly fast, but he's very physical. The depth chart is Robert Spillane, who Antonio Pierce said he would build a defense around. He's 28 years old, he's in the last year of his current deal. He had a career year last year, 82 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 3 interceptions. There's also Divine Diablo, 25 years old, he is also in the last year of his deal. And Luke Masterson, 26 years old, he is also in the final year of his deal. I don't expect much for Tommy Eichenberg. He strikes me as a long-term backup. Now, no one outside him is signed through next year, but I expect deals to get done and new additions to arrive either via free agency or the draft. I don't see them ditching Spillane, and I don't think that Eichenberg is talented to take over here next year in a starting role. In the 6th round, they took Dylan Laube, running back out of New Hampshire. He's 24 years old, 5'10", 206 pounds. He's got an RAS of 8.79. In college, he had over 2,600 yards rushing, 1,300 yards receiving, and 38 touchdowns. He's got good lateral quickness, good long speed, great receiving skills. Kinda reminds me of Danny Woodhead. The depth chart is Zamir White. He's 24 years old. He's on the 3rd year of his rookie deal. It took him a long time to get a shot at the lead role here, but I think he's got it for this year. He came on well at the end of last year, This is a huge make-or-break year for him. Alexander Madison is 26 years old, he's on a one-year deal, and Amir Abdullah is also present. Laube's no threat to be a running back one here, but he's got a lot more upside than his draft capital indicates. He could take over the third down role here, something that I don't think Zamir White is particularly well suited to, and he could also be involved in kick returns, which would boost his value even more. Dylan Laube is being mocked about 46th overall, which is a great spot for value picks. You could be choosing between him, Brendan Rice, Eric All, Cade Stover, or Jared Wiley. Denver Broncos. The Broncos are starting over. Again. Winners. Russell Wilson. All the money, none of the Sean Payton. Losers. Jarrett Stidham. Come on, man. At least buy me a steak dinner first. In the first round, they took Bo Nix, quarterback out of Oregon. He's 24 years old, 6'2", 214 pounds. He looks like the son of Ivan Drago. And if you say his name fast enough, it sounds like a prescription for erectile dysfunction. Bo Nix. In college, Bo Nix had 15,000 yards, 113 touchdowns. According to Sports Info Solutions, and I have no idea what the fuck that is, Nix was the most accurate quarterback in the 2024 NFL Draft. Lance Zierlein comped him to Tony Romo. The depth chart is Jarrett Stidham. He's 27 years old. He's in the final year of his current deal. Zach Wilson, drafted second overall. He played 3 disappointing years in the league and is still somehow the same age as Bo Nix. It's not even entirely clear which one of these is the direct backup to Bo Nix, and far be it from me to get involved in that rat's tail of sadness. Bo Nix is presumed to be the day one starter here. He can handle the NFL and run Sean Payton's offense, which apparently only 2 people in the whole world can do. His ADP is about 22nd overall. He was the 6th quarterback taken in the draft, but he's usually about the 5th to get drafted. Penix falls because his pathway to playing time is longer. I have no strong opinions about Bo Nix. If you need a quarterback and he's there, just take him. Just take him. In the third round, they took Jonah Elliss, edge out of Utah. He's 21 years old, 6'2", 248 pounds. He didn't test at the combine because he was recovering from a shoulder surgery. Somehow there's still an RAS on him. Not sure if that's cobbled together between old metrics and maybe some pro day stuff. He's still not 100%. In college, he had 78 tackles, 23 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles. He's got pedigree, which it turns out does not mean he was a racehorse like I was hoping, but instead his father Luther played in the NFL too. I really liked his tape. He's an instinctive pass rusher who I think dropped into the 3rd round due to his injury. The depth chart is Jonathan Cooper, who's 26 years old. He was a 7th round draft pick. He's in the final year of his rookie deal. Last year, he was a backup. Baron Browning is 25, and Nick Benito, who's 24. It's not entirely clear to me what's going on here with this depth chart or Jonah Ellis' recovery, but I really like Jonah Ellis, and I think he's an eventual starter. If you like him too, you can likely pick him up after your draft off the waiver wire. In the 4th round, they took Troy Franklin, wide receiver out of Oregon. He's 21 years old, 6'2", 176 pounds, and I guess he saw a ghost when he was young or something. He runs a 4.41. He was a 2nd round projection that slid a bit in the draft until the Broncos traded up in the 4th to grab him, which just made sense. Reunite him with his college quarterback, Bo Nix. The depth chart is Courtland Sutton, who's 28 years old, signed through 2025, but he's unhappy. He could be extended or traded or neither. Josh Reynolds is 29 years old. He's on a 2-year deal with an out after this season. Marvin Mims Jr. is 22 years old. He was a 2nd round pick last year. And if he doesn't pan out, I will be heartbroken because I love him. For football, I'm married. There's also Tim Patrick and Lil Jordan Humphrey. They're just good vets to have for depth. Sutton is the wide receiver 1 here until he's not anymore. There's no established number 2 here, as Bo Nix himself is not established here yet. But the college connection with Franklin does make the case for the ascension on this depth chart. Troy Franklin is being mocked about 24th overall on standard 12-team rookie drafts, near Jermaine Burton and Malachi Corley. In the 5th round, they took Audric Esteme, running back out of Notre Dame. He's 20 years old, 5'11", 221 pounds, and his metrics were a bit concerning. He certainly looked faster in games. In college, he had 2,300 yards and 30 total touchdowns. He's a brick shithouse. Seriously, that's a running back? He looks like he's training to fight the Rock in a Marvel movie. Lance Zierlein comped him to Jamal Williams, but I'm gonna comp him to the Terminator. The depth chart is Javonte Williams. He's 24 years old. He's in the final year of his rookie deal. He flirted with 1,000 yards in his rookie year, but never since. He had a pretty serious injury 2 years ago, tearing a number of ligaments. I think it hampered him even after he came back, because last year he had his lowest yards per average at just 3.6. There's a good chance he could return to form, another year removed from injury, and in a contract year. Samaje Perine is 28 years old, he's in the final year of his deal. And Jaleel McLaughlin, he's 23 years old, he's a UDFA from last year. He flashed a little with 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's a solid running back room all the way around. I like all of them. And that is kind of the problem. This could be a muddy committee for fantasy. I don't expect much from Esteme in his rookie year, and I think Javonte Williams is going to have a bounce-back year. Next year? Who knows? Re-signing Williams is still on the table. It's just going to be a matter of cost, I think. If they can keep him, I think they will. If not, it's Esteme, McLaughlin, and some unknown back moving forward. Like I said, his combine testing is a red flag, and his draft capital does not connote much investment. But that film, I can't quit you. I'm in on Esteme still. It's just gonna be a matter of cost. Audric Esteme is being mocked about 36th overall, just before Tyrone Tracy Jr., Braylon Allen, and Will Shipley. I like Esteme over Braylon Allen, but I think Tracy and Shipley will see more of the field as rookies and have a near guaranteed part-time role moving forward, whereas Esteme has more potential to become a lead back in year 2, unless they sign Javonte Williams. Don't hold up your draft, just make a choice. We're all just guessing. Los Angeles Chargers. The Harbaugh era has begun. Winners: Justin Herbert. He got a first-round lineman, a new back, and a ton of new receivers. Losers: Quentin Johnston. You better impress the khakis off Harbaugh, or they might just be drafting your replacement next year. In the second round, they took Ladd McConkey, wide receiver out of Georgia. He's 22 years old, 6 foot, 186 pounds. He runs a 4.39. He's got an RAS of 9.34. In college, he had 229 receptions, 1,600 yards, and 18 total touchdowns. The Chargers moved up 3 spots to get him. He's explosive, he can manipulate defenses, and if there are 2 traits I love in a wide receiver prospect, it's route running and yards after catch. McConkey's got them both. And when it comes to fantasy, there's no better word than volume. McConkey could get that too. He can uncover at all 3 levels on the field. The depth chart is Quentin Johnston. He's 22 years old. He was a first-round pick from last year. I don't want him. I don't trust him. Josh Palmer, 24 years old. He's in the final year of his rookie deal. I love Josh Palmer. I have since he came into the league, but he's never come close to 1,000 yards. DJ Chark, he's 27 years old, new to the team on a 1-year deal. Darius Davis, he's 23 years old. He was a 4th-round pick last year. Brenden Rice, who's another rookie this year, and we'll get to him in a second, and another rookie in Cornelius Johnson. I like the player. I love the landing spot. This offense is changing, and Justin Herbert doesn't have anybody here that's his guy. McConkey has a chance to become that. I think he's going to have a pretty decent rookie season and beyond. Ladd McConkey's ADP is about 10th overall, near Keon Coleman and Ricky Pearsall. In the 3rd round, they grabbed Junior Colson, linebacker out of Michigan. He's 21 years old, 6'2", 238 pounds. In college, he had 256 tackles, 2.5 sacks. Colson was the second inside linebacker taken in the draft. He's explosive, hard-hitting, and has good speed. He played for Harbaugh at Michigan, so there's familiarity. The depth chart is Denzel Perryman. He's 31 years old. He's on a 1-year deal. Dion Henley, he's a 3rd-round pick from last year. And Nick Neiman, he's 26 years old. He's on the final year of his deal. Perryman is likely going after this season, and Colson will take over next year as the starter. In fact, Colson might even see significant snaps this year. Nothing against Perryman. I just think that Harbaugh wants his guy on the field sooner rather than later. He's an easy yes in IDP formats. In the 6th round, they took Kamani Vidal, running back out of Troy. He's 22 years old, 5'8", 213 pounds. He runs a 4.46. He's got a very good RAS. In college, he had 4,000 yards rushing, 92 receptions for 700 yards receiving, and 34 total touchdowns. He's super productive, very athletic. He's got good contact balance. According to PFF, he's had the most yards after contact of any running back in this draft and the most missed tackles. He's got the size and profile of a Ray Rice or Blake Corum. The only knock on him is he went to a small school and the draft capital is low. The depth chart is J.K. Dobbins. He's 25 years old, he's on a 1-year deal, coming off of another injury. Dobbins was a great running back, but he's had knee injuries and Achilles tears. He's still young, but you gotta wonder where he's at physically and how much more he has left to give. Gus Edwards is 29 years old, he's on a 2-year deal with an out after this season. Isaiah Spiller is 22 years old, he's on the 3rd year of his rookie deal, but come on man, he's not gonna happen. He's just not gonna happen. You could make the case that the Chargers not drafting a running back until the 6th round means they were completely fine with what they already had. But the depth chart here is very shaky, and Vidal has the talent to climb it. I like Vidal for this year and moving forward. I do expect him to add more next year, but I still expect that Vidal is going to be highly involved in the offense moving forward. Kamani Vidal's ADP is currently about 31st overall, between Ray Davis and Bucky Irving. That's a little rich to me for a 6th round draft pick. I think people are already hip to him. If he goes much higher, I won't be the one to reach. In the 7th round, they took Brenden Rice, wide receiver out of USC. It's the GOAT's kid! Farm humor. Brenden Rice is 22 years old, 6'2", 208 pounds, he runs a 4.5. In college, he had 1,100 receptions, 1,800 yards receiving, and 21 total touchdowns. I like some of his film, but the draft capital and the existing roster hinders my enthusiasm for him in fantasy. I'm not sure Rice is making this roster. He's likely fighting for one of the last spots here alongside fellow rookie Cornelius Johnson, who is also not shit. If Quentin Johnston or Josh Palmer were to miss some time, there would be a great opportunity here for Rice or Johnson to step up. Brenden Rice is being mocked about 45th overall, and I'm likely out at that price point. There's still tight ends and scat backs I like in that range. Cornelius Johnson's ADP is about 66th overall, between AJ Barner and Bub Means. I'd prefer either one of those over Johnson, so I guess I'm not drafting any late round Chargers. And that's the AFC West. Thank you so much for watching Shut Up Football. We do appreciate it. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace!
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boy.
Ha-ba! Farm humor.